All right, awesome. And we're live. Hi, welcome to our first Noorns and COMTs live stream with me and Steph. Happy to have you guys here. So my name's Bailey and this is Steph, and we'll do a little introduction really quick. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on things, but we'll take questions and review stuff at the end. So Steph, let's go. Me and you, girl.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to talk with you today about nutrigenomics. More importantly, why it matters in real life. For those who don't know me, my name is Steph Vukovic. I'm a nutrigenomics coach, COMT group admin, and a wellness warrior advocate. What that means is I found nutrigenomics after struggling myself with a complex chronic illness that doctors couldn't identify. Test after test kept coming back inconclusive, and eventually my symptoms were explained as psychosomatic, which I knew they weren't. Everything changed when I was given a GeneSight test, and it was really eye-opening that it could explain to me why certain medications or supplements helped or hindered my body. That moment set me on a trajectory into the world of nutrition, genetics, and personalized wellness. Once I started aligning these practices with my own genetic profile, I saw measurable improvement in my health. Symptoms that had been written off as unexplained began to very quickly get better, which was just proof to me. Seeing meaningful changes in my own health utilizing nutrigenomics has inspired me to share this knowledge and help others apply it in a way that supports their own bodies best. Over the past 6+ years, I've dedicated myself to hands-on learning, research, and real-world application of nutrigenomics. And today, I work with others to help interpret their genetic data and educate them on how best to support their unique genetic profile through nutritions, supplements, and lifestyle changes.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the screen. It's a little bit lagged, so I can see you're still talking and then we're talking now. So sorry about that. Right. So my name is Bailey. I'm originally from the States. I'm from Arizona. I had worked as a physicist for 8 years, and my background is in physics, and I've worked on research projects for NASA, the CIA, LG Electronics, and Samsung. At 21, I was recruited to go to the University of Oslo and build microscopes that looked into superconductors and magnetic fields. They had a master's program in medical biophysics and genetics, and so I wanted to switch fields from just optical physics into that. After I took my master's degree, I got sick, very sick with a virus, and ended up with a long COVID situation. I had ME/CFS, very severe. At my worst, I couldn't even sit up for 5 minutes, and I was bedridden. And like Steph's history with, you just go to a lot of doctors and everything is in your head. It's just go take a walk in the forest, go exercise some more, and you'll be fine. I knew I was more than just that. At that time, 23andMe had just come out about getting your DNA data done, and nutrigenomics had come out as a field. So the first textbook was published. So I bought the textbook, I got my data sequence, and I went down the deep dive of everything I can learn into functional genomics. So that's the science of which nutrients you need to influence the gene expression in either increasing or decreasing expression of that gene, and kind of like functional medicine. So it took a few years, but I got myself completely healthy. And then I had friends and family and others in the illness community that asked if I could do their data. And with my education, I could work as a genetics counselor. So I decided to start a business doing that. And then it's so hard with later I wanted to help more people than just doing one-on-one counseling, and it would take me days to do one person's analysis. So in 2018, I launched Noorns NuGen, which is my collection of database of gene nutrient interactions. And I created a program where you can take your data and it kind of puts together the summation of all your gene variants and then gives you recommendations of what to do with that. Then you can get, instead of if you can't afford a one-on-one counseling situation with a genetics counselor, you can do Noorns. So that's how Noorns was born. So today we're here to just talk about COMT. So we are much more than just one gene. Steph and I are very, very aware of that because we both have quite a few gene variants and issues with, like, we're just mutants, all of us, aren't we? So we're going to talk about COMT, focus on that today, and please ask questions if you like. And then if there are other gene topics you'd like us to do another live show on, where we can do that. So let's jump in. So what is COMT? COMT is Catechol-O-Methyltransferase. It's an enzyme in your brain, liver, and body. Its main job is to break down and clear away excess dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine. It also handles catechol-estrogens, which are reactive estrogen metabolites, which we'll talk about a little bit more further down. So what are catecholamines? So dopamine, that chemical is in charge of motivation, focus, pleasure, and drive. Norepinephrine, attention, alertness, and memory molecule, and epinephrine, a fight or flight adrenal response. So too much of these leads to anxiety, wired but tired, and feeling irritable. Too little of these can lead to low mood, flat mood, and trouble focusing. Again, you are much more than just this one gene for any of these topics, but we're focusing on the COMT one today. So how does COMT work? COMT needs three things to do its job. So in my head, the way COMT works is I think of it like Pac-Man. So it takes a catechol molecule, whether it's dopamine or estrogens, and it kind of eats it, and then it goes down and can be activated in your receptors. It's actually attaching a methyl group to it, but it's kind of more fun to think of it as Pac-Man. So we have really fast Pac-Man, fast COMT, and we have a really slow Pac-Man, which is very slow at degrading things. And then we have the intermediate, which is chugging along just fine. So methyl groups, which the main methyl group in our body is S-adenosylmethionine, or SAMe, magnesium, and then you need the right speed of COMT, which is governed by what your genetics, but also your environment, because COMT is very sensitive. So what speeds it up and what slows it down can also comes from your diet and your supplements. So the COMT variant we're going to talk about today is the ValMet158. It's also noted on some reports as the SNP RS4680. So there's three states, well, there's three states for every gene, but the three states for COMT that everybody's heard about is the FAST, or the Val-GG type of COMT. This one clears the catecholamines really quick, so your Pac-Man's chugging along fast. And the MET is the slow COMT, which is the slow Pac-Man, and the catecholamines are sticking around longer. And ValMet is the AG, and it's everything in between. So that one has one the fast allele and one of the slow alleles. So there are other variants on COMT, but the RS4680, the slow COMT can be inhibited as much as 40% on just that one SNP. The other ones are usually cumulatively significant, but individually, if you only had one slow of the other variants, it's not usually as impactful. There's always exceptions. All right, so our first COMT type we're going to talk about is the Worrier, the fast COMTs. So the good stuff about this genotype is you are usually calm under pressure. You usually handle emergencies very well, not overly anxious. The possible negative side effects of this genotype is that you can feel flat or unmotivated, like not finding joy in things as much as you used to find joy in things, trouble with memory and focus, and you may need more stimulation to feel on. The fast COMT tend to also be thrill seekers, like they're always looking for that dopamine surge because they go through their dopamine so quickly. So if you're doing something very exciting, something very pleasurable, you're getting more of that dopamine fix. And we'll talk about supplements for increasing dopamine and slowing down COMT for the Worrier genotype towards the end. We are going to focus a little bit more on the slow COMT, the Worrier type, in the beginning now, but we will cover all three. So the good stuff about the Worrier, because there's not all bad, but you are good at great working memory, detail-oriented and being thorough, good at learning and planning, and good at focusing. The challenges is that you can be more anxious, overthinking, sensitive to caffeine and other stimulants. You get that wired but tired feeling and the trouble shutting off. And so then, sorry, I don't have a slide on the intermediate one, which is one allele of both. Again, you're kind of chugging along on just quick fine with fast and slow, so you're more stable. So COMT and estrogen metabolism. This one we get a lot of topics in the group, right, Steph?
Yes, yes. Yeah, very intricately linked. A lot of perimenopause and just people, slow COMT individuals who struggle with estrogen dominance. Absolutely. Hmm.
So COMT breaks down estrogen. So it breaks down catechol-estrogens into 2-hydroxy and 4-hydroxyestradiol. These catechol-estrogens can be reactive and potentially damaging to DNA. This is how estrogen, the detoxification, this is why it's important in the context of cancer. And also once COMT degrades these estrogens into the protective, safer detoxification forms, is that you have to make sure they're getting excreted from your body. So this means a healthy digestive system. If your digestive system is not optimal, operating at full speed, so this means steady bowel movements if you have constipation issues. The problem is that these estrogens can then get reabsorbed through your intestinal wall back into your bloodstream, and then they need to be detoxified again. So you need to make sure that you have lots of fiber, good probiotics, and that you're excreting these estrogens as they're getting detoxified by metabolized by COMT. So why do supplements affect everyone differently? 2 biochemical levers are the main things for COMT. One is your methyl load and 2 is your catechol load. So how many methyl groups are being pushed into your system? This would be taking things with the word methyl in it, like methylfolate, which is a form of folate, methylcobalamin, which is methyl B12, S-adenosylmethionine or SAMe, trimethylglycine, and choline. Choline's not a direct methyl donor, but I'll talk more about choline and why it's usually listed as one in a second. And the catechol load, so how much dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine are being produced? Are you taking supplements that increase these, like tyrosine, L-dopa, and high caffeine consumption? When you have slow COMT, you're already being behind on clearing the catecholamine. So again, your Pac-Man is just chugging along very slowly. So when you take methyl donors, you push COMT activity to spike, dopamine surges, and then it crashes. And this leads to the agitation, irritability, and the amped and crashed feeling. If you push dopamine boosters too high, so too much dopamine is produced, the slow COMT can't keep up. Anxiety, insomnia, and the wired feeling is the result of that one. Supplements to use with caution with slow COMT, so high doses of methyl donors. Again, the methylfolate, methylcobalamin, SAMe, TMG, and high doses of choline. So we all need methyl donors. Methylation is our fundamental biochemical process in our body. So that most people probably heard of MTHFR, which is our main production of methyl groups. If you're interested in more methylation, let us know in the comments and we can make a video on talking about methylation MTHFR. Our backup system is MTHFD1. So if you have variants in MTHFR, and that one uses the B vitamins and folate and B12 to make methyl groups, but you don't have variants in MTHFD1, you can take choline, which is its source, to make methyl groups from MTHFD1. So high doses of choline are used by MTHFD1 to produce a lot of methyl groups. So if you take choline, you will end up with more methyl groups, but it's not a direct methyl donor in the same sense as if you take methylfolate or S-adenosylmethionine, that's a direct methyl donor. So yeah, if you have MTHFR variants, look to choline. You can have that as a regular methyl donor if you're having problems making methyl groups through your B vitamins, or if you don't tolerate folate or B12 at all, you can always try choline as your backup system.
Eggs are high in choline. Eggs are a great source of choline.
Yep, egg yolks are the best sources of choline. Yeah. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted there.
Right.
Yeah. We do get in the group a lot of times. Like I took a methyl group and I felt amazing for the first time in my life for like a day or two, and then people crash. I think we have a lot of comments that's the case because you need the methyl group, so you're not producing enough on your own. But the problem is you get that surge and then that crash and coming down after it and not getting another surge when you take them again, or you stay at the anxious, irritable, and exhausted problem. So supplements to use with caution, anything that's a strong dopamine booster. So tyrosine, DLPA, L-Dopa, rhodiola rosea, usually stuff that's sold as a focus supplement. Those are usually very bad for slow COMT people because they increase dopamine and norepinephrine faster than slow COMT can handle and can clear them, which worsens the anxiety, insomnia, and the wired states. So for slow COMT, if you're pushing the gas pedal with dopamine, it usually backfires when you need to be trying to fix your brakes with your COMT efficiency first. So better approach for slow COMT is magnesium. That's the big cofactor for COMT. It's calming, 200 to 400 milligrams a day. I think there was a quote, if I don't remember wrong, that was like 85% or something very high. 80% of the US population was, have you ever seen that quote, Steph? Like deficient in magnesium, like that people just aren't eating enough nuts,
Yeah.
seeds, beans, and legumes, but it's a significant number. I'm sure
Mhm.
the AI will
I've worked with a lot of people with low magnesium levels, and when you don't have magnesium, enough magnesium, nothing else is going to work. It's an essential, component of methylation and ensuring that these vitamins do their job. Yeah.
um, yeah, so the magnesium, we'll talk about forms in just a second. B2, which is riboflavin, and B6 support methylation with neurotransmitters without being dopamine surges, usually. But Steph, you had something you wanted to mention about the B6?
Yeah, some will find that they're sensitive to adding B6, whether it's P5P or pyridoxine hydrochloride, because B6 is necessary to convert precursors to dopamine. So I guess in that sense, someone would struggle possibly incorporating B6 as slow COMT. The other one is B6 can in some upregulates the CBS gene, which is a whole nother thing. That's a sulfur metabolism, the transsulfuration pathway. And the thing is when sulfur and ammonia levels are high in the body, that can also cause a lot of distress, high heart rate, insomnia, fatigue, irritability. B6 is one that I would say I would introduce with caution or encourage to get in food sources. Meat and dairy are big sources of B6 and liver. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.
That was perfectly timed. Oh, thank you. Another big one to not overlook is just taking care of your sleep hygiene and your stress. So meditation and breathing, meditative breathing is also really important for handling stress. And monitoring your blood sugar, avoiding blood sugar spikes is a very big, better approach for the foundations. So the low dose of methylfolate, or even better, you can take folinic acid. There were two sources Steph and I were discussing earlier. So Seeking Health has a methyl-free B complex, and Source Naturals has one called megafolinic, I believe.
Correct. Yes. I think that Seeking Naturals has just a folinic supplement now, if I'm not wrong. If I'm not mistaken.
Seeking Health. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Like I think folinic lozenges. So yeah, but they are out there and they're available in the U.S. or on iHerb. I believe they should be international. So not doing methyl B12 options, so hydroxycobalamin and adenosylcobalamin may be better tolerated than methylcobalamin. Small amounts of TMG or choline. So phosphatidylcholine is the source that you want to use there. And again, not taking super high amounts because that MTHFD1 will just pop out more methyl groups and you can become overwhelmed. The benefits of creatine supplementation on methylation. So 40% of our methylation is used to just create creatine. It's a very important molecule that's used for energy production. And if your body gets signals that you have enough creatine, then they can use the methyl groups for doing other things like supporting COMT. Less creatine synthesis means more SAMe for other functions. That includes DNA methylation, neurotransmitter production, and detoxification. Creatine spares the methyl groups, helping regulate homocysteine levels as well. The doses is usually 2 to 5 grams of it. If you train really hard or if you are undergoing a lot of stress, you can take more than that. Yeah, up to 10 grams usually of that. Choose calming over stimulating. So magnesium glycinate or threonate. Magnesium malate is also another great option. Steffi, I think you wanted to talk about the glycinate options because we get that one a lot in the group. I'm going to blow my nose really quick because we'll sneeze.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes, go for it. Yeah, so about the magnesium glycinate. So like in the group, there's so much feedback that those with slow COMT, they say that they don't do well with magnesium glycinate. And what I have to say is two things about that. One is that magnesium glycinate, the compound that would be causing adverse effects would be the glycine in the magnesium glycinate. The second thing is that COMT really has absolutely nothing to do with how you metabolize glycine per se. But what happens is if you're a poor metabolizer of glutamate, glycine is a co-agonist that's required at the MDA receptor to synthesize glutamate. So if you have impaired GAD1 genes or CYP 18, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm blanking. Well,
The
anyway, it was the SLC1,
LCL1 through
SLC1A1 through SLC1A7. And those are the genes you would want to look at for glutamate metabolism. But yeah, if magnesium glycinate doesn't jive with you, it wouldn't necessarily be because of slow COMT. And then in that case, I would recommend magnesium malate or magnesium threonate. And the difference between the two, magnesium malate, they come as much larger, kind of sour pills because it's a malic acid. They are very large. Magnesium malate helps a lot with ATP production. They say energy. I take it at bedtime. I'm fine. Magnesium threonate has the special ability to cross the blood-brain barrier. And so that one can support cognitive health better. And so they all have their caveats, but yeah, I think that if magnesium glycinate didn't work, to try mag malate or threonate.
Yeah, so the magnesium threonate does come in a powdered form too by Doctor's Best, I believe. So you can just mix it in your smoothies or something like that.
It's
Sorry?
sour. I said it's sour.
Okay, it's sour. And then yeah, the magnesium malate, that's the one that I take at night because it also, if you have restless leg syndrome, the malic acid is taken into the muscles the best, and it really helps with the restless leg issues you would have at night. Other options for calming stimulants are L-theanine and taurine, and adaptogens like ashwagandha instead of stimulants like rhodiola rosea.
Again, I want to just say is the success with using adaptogens doesn't completely rely on COMT either. Again, that's, it can be messing with serotonin or other things. So there's other things to consider, but those are good options, yeah, to start with.
So yeah, speaking of like, why do two people with slow COMT respond differently then? Because we keep saying COMT is just one piece of the puzzle. We're much more than just one gene. So MTHFR and your other methylation genes, are you even making SAMe in the first place? Do you have variants in both MTHFR and MTHFD1? How is your liver phase 2 detox? How is your glutathione production, your sulfation capacity, your hormones and estrogen load? Do you have estrogen dominance? Then COMT is having a lot more work to do. Stress, sleep, trauma. I mean, even if you're fast COMT, it doesn't matter if you still experience a life-changing trauma. Trauma's trauma. And also, for slow COMT, then it's just harder to deal with when, it's we're more than just one gene, and our environment shapes us greatly. Medications can cause side effects and interact with COMT as well. So all these are different key pieces to your puzzles that you need to find to work together. So how does a nutrigenomic DNA report help? So there's a lot of nutrigenomic reports out there that you can get, besides the Noorns one, of course. But what you want to do is you want to look at your COMT and your other variants because they are cumulatively significant. You really want to look at MTHFR, MAO, and other methylation and neurotransmitter genes, your detox capacity and nutrient needs. So which supplements to start with and what dose and what things to avoid, that information is given in the Noorns reports. NutriHacker does this, I believe, as well, but it's just per gene instead of the Noorns reports are cumulative, but NutriHacker, I believe, is free still, right?
I think they do offer a free report. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It could be because it can offer kind of confusing information because they will label the intermediates as red, or they
This,
do that
yeah,
kind of leave people with more questions than answers. But if they are able to consult someone who can interpret it for them, sure, yeah, it's free.
it's free. Yeah, the Noorns reports are $29, so they're not unaffordable either.
They're my personal favorite. I think so much, really, I'm so proud of the reports, and I really wouldn't recommend anything else. I think they're so detailed. I think they're so easy to read. And when you get to each gene, like, I'm not kidding, it's not like, you know, big extravagant language that you're trying to like, what she has created is really easy to read stuff. And then there's the suggestions, and then there's the the recommendations, and then the avoids. It's really great. Yeah, huge believer, big fan.
Aw, thank you so much, Steph.
Yeah.
That's great, thanks. So slow COMT and high estrogen, you get a lot more, I think you have more information about this than I am because you're also an estrogen dominance group as well.
Yeah, I've been studying this for a long time. So, I mean, with slow COMT and high estrogen, that could be a whole nother episode that we would have to talk about. There's that much information to go into of things to avoid or things to maybe incorporate into your lifestyle. But as far as like what we have here, sure, sleep, stress management, magnesium, your methylation vitamins are essential to metabolizing and detoxing estrogens. And like what we were talking about before, estrogen, there's several phases of detox that it needs to go through to be inactivated because some of these estrogens are carcinogenic. So looking at this, we've got month one, sleep, stress management, magnesium, B2, B6, basic minerals. Sound advice. Month two, add low methylfolate. B12, if you're low in B12, might help. If you are low in folate, I would add B12 first. But anyway, okay, I'm getting off track. Whole point is that I think with the estrogen metabolism one, I would like to see us do a whole nother episode on that because there's
Yeah,
just,
that's a great idea. We can ask in the comments.
I don't even know how to condense it right now in about
No,
2 minutes. So
no, absolutely not. But let us know in the
I'll take
comments if the
questions. I'll
estrogen.
take questions on it though. I'm happy to. Yeah.
Yeah, and let us know if it's something you'd like us to do a whole presentation on. So key takeaways for our slow COMT. So COMT controls dopamine and estrogen clearance. Your genes determine how fast and slow you clear them. Slow COMT needs gentle, low-dose cofactor-based support, not stimulants or high methyl donors. Why supplements may feel different. Two people with the same gene variant can have completely different responses based on MTHFR, detox, hormones, and lifestyle. Genetics plus symptoms plus labs, that's the information you want. So we are more than just our genes. You need to know your symptoms and you need to know your labs before you can start implementing real changes as well. Now we're finally going to get to the Fast COMT. So sorry if you guys have been holding on for the Fast COMT and we've just been focusing on the slow. So why Fast COMT can feel flat and unmotivated. Again, your Pac-Man is just running really quickly through all of your dopamine and norepinephrine, sometimes too quickly. This leads to a low dopamine baseline, flat mood, low motivation, and fatigue. This can also cause poor working memory and focus without stimulation. less pleasure from rewards, anhedonia-like symptoms, need for external stimulation like the caffeine, exercise, the novelty, thrill-seeking stuff. Again, if you like extreme sports, something like that, because you need to feel on and you get that dopamine surge. So the irony for the fast comp needs more dopamine support, not less, but in a way that doesn't overshoot, because you don't want to then exacerbate and have negative symptoms from that. So supplements that slow COMT, polyphenols and natural COMT inhibitors, quercetin, 250 to 500 milligrams daily. It's a bioflavonoid that gets inhibited by COMT, allowing dopamine to accumulate without overstimulation. High doses of curcumin, 500 to 1,000 milligrams daily. It's a potent COMT inhibitor with very strong anti-inflammatory benefits. So if you have an inflammatory condition, you do need to be careful with this interference with medication. But if you have something like fibromyalgia or rheumatoid arthritis with high CRP markers, this might be a great one for you because you're hitting a few birds with one stone. High doses of EGCG, so this is green tea extract. We have people in the group that can't tolerate even a cup of green tea, but in the literature, it's usually very high doses of the EGCG that inhibit COMT. It may be something else going on when you can't drink any forms of it. That's often discussed and talked about as a big avoidant. How gentle dopamine support interacts with the brain for fast comp. So L-theanine is calm and focus. It modulates neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin. Low doses of tyrosine. This is the precursor to convert to dopamine. It supplies sustained building blocks for dopamine synthesis. Mucunapurines or L-DOPA. Be careful with these. You cannot take these if you are on other neurotransmitter medications. But it bypasses the rate limiting step converting direct to dopamine. But these are all supplements you should discuss with your doctor if you want to start taking them. But they do provide steady dopamine support without overwhelming the fast clearing COMT system. So intermediate COMTs, those are one fast allele and one slow allele, are Valmets. This one is kind of the best of both worlds, where you can play with it with what you need. If you're going to know you're going to have a very stressful situation, like you have to do a live stream presentation and you're stressed, then don't take anything that's going to inhibit your COMT even further, because you're going to not tolerate that stress as well. So you can, if you are feeling flat and low energy, you can increase your dopamine with the things we just talked about, the L-tyrosine and L-DOPA, caffeine and moderate exercise. You can slow down COMT with quercetin and curcumin. If you're anxious or you're going to be handling a lot of stress, avoid these first two things and instead focus on the magnesium, L-theanine, and methylation support.
Well, I do want to say one thing about this that I think is really important. So, there's this common misconception that you can turn genes on and off. And I do the air quotes because I know that's a popular phrase and people catch on. Um, and I think it's a really skewed idea because you cannot, in fact, turn genes on and off. Well, genes are always expressing. We are genetics. Genes express at slow, intermediate, and fast. What we are able to do is by implementing supplements, to either inhibit or induce COMT, you can control the speed at which it expresses. So, like, with if you have fast COMT and it's too fast, you can inhibit it by possibly taking something like quercetin or some EGCG, slow it down. So we are able to control our genetics and expression, and I think that's really cool. I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah, it
because
doesn't mean it's turned on or off by any means, because if it was turned off, then you wouldn't be existing.
right, yeah, exactly, yeah. So I just really wanted to, but I think that's also, it gives me a lot of hope. I'm like, oh, that's cool that we're able to have that much control, that we can control these things. And like, if you are slow COMT, it's not a death sentence that you're just going to be an anxious person. There's things you can do, and if you're fast COMT, there's things you can do. So, and even with intermediate, you can swing in either direction. If with me, I'm intermediate COMT, and if I take a lot of quercetin and a lot of COMT inhibitors, I start to develop what is slow COMT, and then you can kind of swing in either direction. So
Mhm. Excellent point. That one, and the turning genes on and off, and then my other favorite one to hear is I have the MTHFR gene, or I have the COMT gene. I'm like, yes, you do. But what
yeah,
else do you
everybody
have?
does.
Yes,
Correct. Everybody does.
everybody has it.
Yes,
But
exactly.
people are new to the world of genetics, so I always find that kind of cute. For
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
So yeah, that was a great segue to our very last slide too, with like, you're not broken, your genes just need the right support. So we can influence the expression of our genes through our diet and our lifestyle and our choices. We haven't gotten any comments. I can check the Facebook page really quick and see if anybody has posted there. But Steph, do we have any like frequently asked questions we usually get in the Facebook chat, just to answer a few questions?
I've noticed a lot of people talking about vitamin C in regards to COMT. I don't know if you're seeing that in the group lately. And that's something that's actually kind of new to me. That I've heard that it can help clear catecholamines quicker, like dopamine, but I'm not really sure that is like that's an indirect link. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
see that in there. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Um,
People want to discuss supplements. So, as far as like estrogen is another one, and I didn't mean to skip over it. It's just so all encompassing. It would take a long
No,
time to.
yeah, I don't think we skipped over it.
Oh,
It's just like, is that interesting enough that people want us to do a whole
yeah.
uh,
Well, I
presentation on it?
I think they would. So like ways to manage estrogen dominance, micronized progesterone, vitamin. I mean, let me dial back. Avoiding any estrogenic foods and supplements, anything like soy, flaxseed, um, maca, things that raise estrogen, rhodiola rosea, you want to avoid that. Um, so if you already have estrogen dominance, things you would want to do, and I've got my notes here, micronized progesterone, vitamin E, rosemary, which also works for blocking DHT at the scalp, which is like male pattern baldness, which is really interesting. That goes with PCOS. Uh,
Mhm,
Sulforaphane or DIM. DIM is a phase 1 detox tool, and sulforaphane is phase 2.
mhm.
Uh, some people don't tolerate DIM and they do better with sulforaphane or vice versa. Aspirin. Aspirin's my go-to, and I'm a huge Ray Peat fan, and I hope anybody is watching this like, yeah, because Ray Peat is awesome. And he was a big aspirin advocate because it reduces estrogen and prostaglandin release, and it does a lot of good for us. So I take that daily. I take that with K2, MK4. There's calcium D-glucarate to help reduce estrogen. So there are tools, and we could do a whole nother segment on it. It would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've got one comment in the chat now. So somebody asked, so notice your neighbor 8649. Thanks for your comment. Um, how does perimenopause affect slow COMT? And she also would love a whole presentation about estrogen dominance and advice for how to get medical providers on board with estrogen dominance. That's a good one.
Ooh, that's a good one because I have a personal story about how I was able to get mine on board. So yeah, that's really cool. So how does perimenopause and you know perimenopause is going to hit all of us. Perimenopause is the stage in our life prior to menopause where estrogen and progesterone levels drop. But the problem is that estrogen only drops by about 30%. Progesterone drops by 75%. So, like during perimenopause to menopause, just this huge drop, which already leaves a woman in a state of estrogen dominance. Now, if you compound that with slow COMT and the inability to clear estrogen as quickly, it's just a bad recipe for estrogen dominance, even more so. So, where do I want to go with this?
I think
There
that's a good one to do, like
We'll have to.
yeah.
I'll get some notes together. We can do this because there's so much that goes into it. It's not it's so interconnected. So estrogen, biometabolism, thyroid function, adrenal health, all very interconnected because of estrogen. And then that's just that aspect, not to mention the cancer risk that comes with not being able to detox that. I am a huge advocate of bioidentical progesterone. And yeah, gosh, I could keep going. So I think that that would be a really cool segment we could do. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Especially going through it right now. So like getting your doctor on board,
All
like
of
having
us.
to, like, yeah, fighting to get the progesterone and stuff. So finally sleeping properly, with getting my progesterone in order. Yeah,
Um,
we can do that.
yeah, as far as sharing my story real quick about how I found a provider that would treat me, because here's the problem. A lot of gynecologists are just trained um to know how to do two things and respectfully. Because of schooling, prescribe birth control, primarily synthetic progestins, and perform hysterectomies, and that is it. So when I started I interviewed my providers. So what you can do, because these providers are there for you, you don't need to be scared to go and say, hey, are you going to help me, and set up an appointment like an interview. So the
Mm.
first gynecologist I had was like, absolutely not, I won't prescribe that. And I'm like, "Ah, I gotta find a second opinion." The second gynecologist was willing to prescribe me progesterone, but it wasn't enough. It was a really low dose, and then kept trying to push north and thedrone, which is a synthetic progestin. Well, anyway, so I made one more call, and this time I treated it like an interview. I showed up to the appointment, and I said, okay, so these are my preferences. This is my issue. I feel that I really benefit from progesterone. And the thing is, too, is it's over the counter. So a lot of times women will try the over the counter stuff before they even get to the doctor and say, hey, that worked for me, but it's really expensive over the counter. I prefer prescription. I think it works better for me. But at any rate, so I just laid it out on the table with the guy and I said, all right, this is how I feel. I would like to, it- kind of investigate and see how this progesterone works for me, an increase in dose. How would you feel about that? And he was just like, sure, let's do it. It can't hurt. He said it's to him, it was less invasive than doing a hysterectomy or putting me on Lupron to shut all my hormones down, which is not something I wanted. And so you do have the right as, a patient to ask these doctors before you continue a relationship with them, are you going to help? These are my preferences.
Yeah.
Are you going to help me? And so I think that's the best way to start. The other thing is, and we can do this in the next segment, but I brought a lot of information with me that showed the benefits of micronized progesterone and the dangers of progestin use. And if you're able to also bring your genetic material and say, hey, I'm apt to have estrogen dominance, I'm slow COMT or whatever, that's also something that can be fit into trying to regulate your estrogen by introducing progesterone. So, but yeah, I went in informed with a lot of paperwork, and there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about next time. But there's a doctor, her name's Katerina Dalton, and she was the progesterone pioneer, micronized progesterone pioneer. And what she did was she was the first doctor to make a connection between a high crime rate and a woman's menstrual cycle, like murder. And which was awesome. She was like, listen, this is not, these ladies are just not nuts.
Mhm. Yeah.
And she advocated. Now she did pass, but her work is a legacy, and just like Ray Pete, but two different causes. But anyway, although Ray Pete believed in micronized progesterone, but so Katerina Dalton left a legacy, and what she did was she suggested that there really was no upper limit for progesterone. There's no toxicity, and she suggested up to 2,400 milligrams a day of 400 milligram servings of progesterone. I've gone as far as 1,600 milligrams a day. as 400 milligram doses. Loved it. Again, a whole nother thing. It ties into thyroid function, is how well you metabolize progesterone. There's a lot. So my brain's like, but we'll, yeah.
Yeah,
So
let's make it in. Maybe we'll do
yeah,
it as our next one if that's of
yeah,
interest. So
yeah.
yeah, love it.
Great question.
All right. Well, thanks for you guys who showed up. I hope you liked the stream, and let us know if you have any questions. If you're watching this afterwards, I hope you can make it next time to join us. Please write any questions or any topics you'd like us to cover in either the COMT Facebook group or here on the Noorns YouTube channel. Hope everybody had a wonderful, happy, and safe New Year, and we'll see you guys in the group. All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you
guys.
guys. Thanks.